So today I find myself back at Crown Hill Cemetery in Indianapolis. Yes, it's true. My mom was a hooker. But it's not what you think. In 1890, John Hook was born in Ohio. His parents were German Americans, actually German immigrants. Shortly after John's birth, they would move to Indianapolis. And early in John's life, like around the age of 9, he knew that he wanted to work in the pharmaceutical industry. So at the age of 13, John enrolled at a pharmacy school in Cincinnati. At the age of 19, he would graduate top of his class and then return to Indianapolis. And it was here he started his own business. He had one store, opened it in 1900. He would later open a second store, and he would hire a gentleman by the name of Edward Roche to manage the second location. And that was really the beginning of what was known as Hooks Drugstores. By, I believe it was 1920, they were up to 12 stores in the Indianapolis area. And Mr. Roche would help John Hook really build an empire that would eventually grow to over 50 stores. And John wanted to be really the center of the German American community. He wanted stores where, when he first started, where the German Americans could gather and feel safe, have a place to seek medical help. And that's what he provided. Unfortunately, John Hook passed away in 1943. We'll check here in a second. And Edward Roche would take over the Hook Drugstore business. And he would run the chain up until his death in, I believe, 1956. And John Hook's son, August, they would call him Bud. August Hook would then take over the helm of the Hooks Drugstore business. And they would grow to over 150 stores. Eventually, Hooks Drugstores would sell out to Revco in the 1990s. And then Revco would then eventually be bought by CVS. And if you live in Indiana or in the Midwest, you would have heard of Hooks Drugstores if you were around, before the 2000s. So here at Crown Hill Cemetery, this is where the Hooks family plot is. Right here is the founder of Hooks Drugstores, John Hook, 1880 to 1943. And like I say, in the 1950s, his son Bud would then take over the business. And here is the resting place of August Hook, 1907 to 1992. And the reason I say that my mom was a hooker was because she worked for Hooks Drugstores in the 1970s, early 1980s. And that's really what they referred themselves as. They, at least the store where my mom worked, they were known as the hookers. I worked for Hooks Drugstores when I was in high school, before I went on to college, and this would have been mid-1980s. And I can recall a story my mom had told me where this would have been, I would assume, in the early 1980s. She was working, and a gentleman had come in. She said it looked just like a, ordinary Indiana farmer. Came in overalls. Nothing spectacular. And he approached her and asked her, if she liked working at the store. And asked if he could speak to the pharmacist, who back then the pharmacists were also the store managers. And she's like, yeah, who can I say is, asking? And he said, well, my name is Bud Hook. And of course my mom knew of him, never met him until that day. So that's my personal story about the Hooks Drugstores. So now if you drive through Indiana, and you see CVS and a lot of those stores used to be Hooks Drugstores. Of course, the buildings themselves are gone. Some of them, the one that my mom worked at, is still standing. It is now, I believe, a Dollar General store. But if you knew what the Hooks Drugstores looked like, they were all built similar. And I'll put a picture of stores throughout this video. So yeah, my mom was a hooker. And she would be okay with me saying that because she had a sense of humor, and that's exactly what they called themselves. Crown Hill Cemetery. This was the story of Hooks Drugstores.